I think in my own head, I thought, that's the woman I'm going to spend my life with. She's a very, very special person. She's just so full of love and full of fun.
He's a good guy, and we have a great understanding of each other.
Barry Gibb has always been quiet about his personal thoughts, especially when it comes to other music legends. But now, for the first time, he's speaking up about Dolly Parton, and what he's saying isn't good. For years, Barry and Dolly seem to have nothing but respect for each other. Both are music icons, both have shaped the industry in their own way, and both have voices the world will never forget. But behind the scenes, things weren't as perfect as they seemed. Now, after staying silent for so long, Barry has finally decided to reveal the truth. And what he's saying is surprising everyone. What happened between him and Dolly? And why is this news so shocking? The big reveal. What Barry said. Something unexpected just happened in the world of music. Barry Gibb, the legendary singer from the Bee Gees, has finally spoken about Dolly Parton, and his words are not what people expected. Fans have always seen both of them as icons, legends in their own right. But what Barry recently said has left people divided. So, what exactly did Barry Gibb say? Well, this all started when Barry was interviewed recently. At first, everything seemed normal. He was talking about his music, his career, and his experiences in the industry. But then, out of nowhere, he was asked about Dolly Parton. His response? It wasn't filled with admiration or respect like people assumed it would be. Instead, he seemed frustrated. Barry didn't hold back. He mentioned that while he respects Dolly's talent, he believes she has changed a lot over the years, and not necessarily for the better. He talked about how she used to be all about the music, but now, according to him, she is more about business and branding than real artistry. He even hinted that working with her wasn't as smooth as people might think. But that's not all. Barry also brought up something that made fans do a double take. He said that the music industry has a way of protecting certain artists while leaving others behind. And in his opinion, Dolly has been one of the protected ones. He claimed that no matter what she does, the media and the fans always defend her, even if she makes mistakes. The tone of his words wasn't lighthearted. It wasn't just a casual opinion. There was some real frustration there, and that's what caught people off guard. Fans were left wondering, why would Barry say this now? And is there more to the story than we know? The context. Why would Barry say this? To understand why Barry said what he did, we have to go back in time. Barry and Dolly's connection goes back decades. The Bee Gees wrote one of Dolly's biggest hits, Islands in the Stream, which she performed with Kenny Rogers. That song became an all-time classic, and many people assumed that Barry and Dolly had a great relationship because of it. But behind the scenes, things might not have been so perfect. While Barry always spoke highly of Kenny Rogers, he never really talked much about Dolly. And now, looking back, that silence might have meant something. Could it be that there was tension all along? One moment that might give us clues is the 2023 Islands in the Stream tribute. This was a big event meant to honor Kenny Rogers and the legacy of that iconic song. Barry Gibb was involved in the tribute, but things didn't go smoothly. Some sources claim that Barry wanted to have a bigger creative role in the tribute, but the event organizers, and possibly Dolly, had other plans. Rumors started floating around that Barry felt sidelined. While Dolly was given a huge spotlight during the tribute, Barry's contributions were somewhat downplayed. He wasn't ignored, but he also wasn't treated like the legend that he is. This might have been the moment when Barry started feeling like Dolly was getting too much credit, while he and the Bee Gees weren't getting enough. There were also whispers that Barry and Dolly had a disagreement about something related to the tribute. Some say it was about how the song should be performed, while others believe it was about who should get more recognition. Either way, something didn't sit right with Barry, and it looks like he's finally speaking up about it. Another thing to consider is the industry itself. Barry Gibb has always been a man of music, while Dolly Parton, though undeniably talented, has expanded far beyond music. She's a businesswoman, a brand, and even a theme park owner. Barry might see this shift as something that takes away from pure artistry. Maybe he feels that artists like himself, who focus only on the music, don't get as much attention as those who build huge brands around themselves. So, is Barry just frustrated with how the industry works? Or is this really about Dolly as a person? That's the question fans are now asking. The industry reacts. As expected, Barry's comments spread like wildfire. Music critics also joined the conversation. Some pointed out that Barry isn't entirely wrong. Dolly Parton has built an empire, and she does have a lot of industry support. But at the same time, many argued that she worked hard for everything she has, and it's not her fault if people love her. Dolly's team hasn't made an official statement yet, but sources close to her say she was surprised by Barry's comments. One insider even mentioned that Dolly always believed she and Barry were on good terms, and that she never expected him to say something like this. But perhaps the most interesting reactions came from other artists. Some country musicians subtly supported Barry's words, saying that the industry does play favorites. Others defended Dolly, saying she has always been one of the most humble and hard-working people in the business. Right now, there's no clear answer on who is right and who is wrong. But one thing is for sure, this conversation isn't dying down anytime soon. So, what does this mean for Barry Gibb's legacy? Will these comments change how people see him? Barry has always been respected as a musical genius, but his comments might make some people view him differently. Some might say he's bitter or jealous, while others will see him as someone who's simply standing up for himself and the Bee Gees' legacy. And what about Dolly? Will this affect her image? Probably not in a big way. She has an incredibly loyal fan base, and she's known for always taking the high road. If she does respond, it will likely be in a classy and graceful way, just like she always does. But this whole situation does bring up a bigger question. Is Barry the only one who feels this way? Are there other artists who believe that Dolly gets more credit than she deserves? Maybe Barry just said what others were thinking but were too afraid to say out loud. At the end of the day, we may never know the full truth behind Barry's words. Was this a moment of honesty, or was it frustration boiling over? Was it about the industry, or was it something personal? Only Barry truly knows. The truth is finally out, and Barry Gibb's words have left fans with more questions than answers. What does this mean for his relationship with Dolly Parton? Will she respond? Only time will tell. One thing is clear, this story is far from over. Stay tuned for more updates as this unfolds.
Muhammad Ali was as smart as Charlie Rose and as pretty as Gayle King. What could I do?
For decades, George Foreman's sprawling Texas ranch held secrets that few knew existed. When the boxing legend temporarily stepped away from the public eye in 2018, his estate was thoroughly examined. Every contract, letter, and personal item meticulously cataloged. What researchers discovered inside left everyone stunned, revealing a side of Big George that no one had ever seen. Born in Marshall, Texas in 1949, George Foreman rose from poverty in Houston's dangerous Fifth Ward to become an Olympic gold medalist, two-time heavyweight champion, and eventually a business titan worth hundreds of millions. Behind his transformation from fearsome puncher to beloved pitchman lay stories and artifacts that would change our understanding of this American icon. Hidden in a temperature-controlled vault beneath Foreman's main residence, researchers discovered an extensive collection of journals dating back to his teenage years. These handwritten accounts revealed a man far more strategic and self-aware than his public image suggested. While many viewed young Foreman as simply a terrifying force of nature in the ring, his private writings showed a fighter who meticulously analyzed opponents and carefully crafted his intimidating persona. The journals began during his time at the Job Corps in 1965, where counselor Doc Broadus first introduced him to boxing. Even then, the teenage Foreman was recording detailed observations about techniques and strategies, showing an analytical mind that belied his limited education. One entry from 1966 read, "Watched Clay Muhammad Ali fight on TV tonight. Everyone sees his speed, but it's how he sets up punches 3 moves ahead that makes him different. Could learn from that if I get the chance." One journal from 1973, during his championship reign, contained surprising admissions about his famous fight with Joe Frazier. "I wasn't as confident as I looked," Foreman wrote. "When they announced Frazier's name, my knees almost buckled. I just made sure my face never showed it." This glimpse of vulnerability from a man who had demolished the previously undefeated champion in 2 brutal rounds shocked boxing historians who had always viewed the young Foreman as fearless. The journals revealed that Foreman's intimidating pre-fight stare, which made opponents visibly uncomfortable, wasn't natural but carefully practiced. "Spent an hour in front of mirror perfecting the look," he wrote before his 1974 fight with Ken Norton. "Not blinking is hardest part. Eyes water, but worth it to see fear in their face at weigh-in." This calculated approach to psychological warfare showed a level of sophistication far beyond the brute force puncher often portrayed in boxing literature. Perhaps most revealing were Foreman's writings after his 1974 defeat to Muhammad Ali in the Rumble in the Jungle. While publicly Foreman had always been gracious about this loss, his private journals showed how deeply it affected him. "Lost more than a fight today," he wrote hours after the knockout. "Lost my identity. Who was George Foreman if not champion? Feel like a stranger in my own skin." These raw emotions helped explain his dramatic life change and religious conversion that followed 3 years later. The journals documented a 3-year spiral following the Ali loss, with Foreman writing about increasing feelings of emptiness despite winning his next fights. "Knocked out 5 men since Zaire," he wrote in 1977 before his fateful fight with Jimmy Young. "Felt nothing. The man they cheer for doesn't exist anymore." This existential crisis set the stage for his religious experience after the Young fight, giving new context to what many had viewed as a sudden conversion. The estate contained evidence of Foreman's secret correspondence with Muhammad Ali spanning decades. Despite their famous rivalry, these letters revealed a deep friendship that developed in later years. The earliest letter, dated 1978, showed Ali reaching out to the newly converted Foreman, writing, "George, I heard you found God. I'm happy for you, brother. We fought in the ring, but the real fight is finding peace in this life. You're winning that one now." Most surprising was a letter from Ali dated 1989 during Foreman's comeback, offering strategic advice for handling younger fighters. "These boys haven't seen what we've seen," Ali wrote. "They think it's about muscle. You and I know it's about mind." Foreman had apparently incorporated this counsel into his improbable second championship run, making adjustments to his fighting style based on Ali's suggestions. The correspondence continued until shortly before Ali's death in 2016, with the final letter from Foreman to Ali saying simply, "You showed me how to lose and still win." The greatest gift any fighter could receive. This private friendship between 2 of boxing's greatest rivals adds a poignant dimension to their public narrative. Financial records found in the estate painted an unexpected picture of Foreman's legendary deal with the manufacturers of the George Foreman grill. While the public knew about the $137.5 million buyout for rights to his name in 1999, discovered contracts revealed that Foreman had initially rejected a larger offer that would have paid him $150 million immediately. Instead, he negotiated for a lower guaranteed amount plus perpetual royalties from certain markets, a decision that ultimately earned him over $200 million total. The documents showed that Foreman had insisted on maintaining quality control provisions that many celebrities neglect in endorsement deals. One clause specifically allowed him to reject any product modifications that reduced quality, with his handwritten note in the margin reading, "If my name's on it, it better work like I say it works." This attention to product integrity helps explain why the Foreman grill maintained its reputation while many celebrity products quickly faded. More surprising was evidence that the grill wasn't the first product Foreman was offered. Documents showed he had previously turned down endorsement opportunities for everything from lawn mowers to fast food chains. A 1992 memo from his business manager questioned his rejection of a guaranteed $8 million for a hamburger chain deal. Foreman's handwritten response, "Won't put my name on anything I don't believe in, period." The estate contained hundreds of unopened letters from fans, many dating back decades. Foreman had apparently kept every piece of correspondence from children, and particularly from former troublemakers, who cited him as inspiration for turning their lives around. His systematic organization of these letters, labeled and dated, revealed how seriously he took his role as a model of transformation and redemption. One section was dedicated to letters from former gang members, who had found positive direction through Foreman's youth center. Foreman had not only saved these letters, but had made detailed notes about following up with many of these individuals, tracking their progress over years and even decades. In some cases, financial records showed he had anonymously funded education or business ventures for particularly promising youth who reached out to him. Researchers discovered evidence of extensive anonymous philanthropy that Foreman had never made public. Financial records showed millions donated to youth centers across America, particularly in disadvantaged neighborhoods similar to where he grew up. A separate foundation, operating quietly under a different name, had funded scholarships for hundreds of students from Houston's Fifth Ward. One document explicitly instructed that, under no circumstances should the Foreman name be attached to these contributions. Tax records revealed that at certain points, particularly during the 1990s as his comeback was generating significant income, Foreman was donating nearly 30% of his annual earnings to various causes. Yet he had structured these donations through such complex channels that not even close associates knew the full extent of his giving. A letter from his financial advisor in 1997 cautioned about excessive charitable allocations potentially impacting long-term security, advice Foreman apparently ignored. Among the most valuable discoveries was Foreman's complete collection of fight films and training footage, including previously unseen recordings of his preparation for his biggest bouts. Sports scientists who reviewed this material noted that Foreman's training methods in the 1970s were decades ahead of their time, incorporating techniques that wouldn't become mainstream until the 2000s. Of particular interest was footage showing Foreman's rehabilitation after his losses, revealing innovative recovery methods he had never publicly discussed. The training footage from his comeback in the late 1980s was especially revealing. While publicly, Foreman joked about his weight and apparent lack of conditioning, private videos showed him performing sophisticated exercise routines focused on core strength and rotational power, rather than traditional boxing workouts. Notes accompanying these videos, written by strength coaches he had hired from Eastern Europe, detailed a scientific approach to maintaining power while accommodating age-related changes. The estate contained surprising medical records that explained one of boxing's greatest mysteries: how Foreman was able to successfully return to championship boxing in his 40s. These documents revealed that during his decade away from the sport, Foreman had participated in an experimental health program, combining nutrition, specialized training, and early preventative screening. Doctors' notes indicated that his cardiovascular system and neurological health had actually improved during his 30s despite his weight gain. Information Foreman had strategically kept from opponents who viewed him as an aging, slow target. Brain scans from throughout his career showed that Foreman had suffered remarkably little damage compared to other fighters with similar experience, partly due to his defensive technique, but also thanks to specialized protocols he followed between fights. A medical report from 1993 noted that Foreman's neurological health appears better than most active fighters 15 years his junior, adding that his cognitive function tests exceed the norms for non-boxers in his age group. Perhaps most poignant were draft chapters of an unfinished autobiography that presented a more nuanced view of Foreman's famous 1977 religious conversion. While he had publicly described a sudden revelation after his fight with Jimmy Young, these private writings detailed a longer spiritual journey marked by doubts and setbacks. "The man in the ring was dying long before Puerto Rico," he wrote. "Every morning I asked God for one more day of being someone else. In that dressing room, he finally answered." The manuscript revealed that Foreman had actually begun attending church services secretly months before his conversion, sitting in the back row of small churches where he wouldn't be recognized. His journals from this period showed increasing disillusionment with fame and wealth, with one entry noting, "Made another million this year. Feel poorer than when I had nothing. Something missing no money can buy." The estate revealed evidence of Foreman's surprising artistic talents. A hidden studio contained dozens of paintings created by the boxer over several decades, landscapes, portraits of boxing legends, and abstract works that showed considerable skill. Correspondence with several prominent artists suggested Foreman had privately studied painting since the 1980s, developing his talent while keeping it completely separate from his public persona. Art catalogs and receipts showed he had anonymously acquired an impressive collection of works by African-American artists, particularly those from the southern United States. Letters revealed he had provided financial support to several emerging artists from disadvantaged backgrounds, sponsoring their education and first exhibitions without public acknowledgement. Most unexpected was Foreman's detailed documentation of the psychological strategies he employed during his improbable comeback in the late 1980s and 1990s. While publicly portraying himself as a jolly, harmless grandfather, private notes revealed a calculated approach to disarming opponents. "They laugh at the belly and old man jokes," he wrote before his 1994 championship fight with Michael Moore. "Perfect. When they're busy laughing, they forget I can still punch through walls." This psychological warfare, hidden behind a friendly smile, helped explain how he recaptured the heavyweight title at age 45. Notes prepared for media interviews showed how carefully Foreman crafted his public image during this period. One document, titled "Interview Themes," listed topics to emphasize: love of hamburgers, being a grandfather, religious faith, and subjects to avoid: training regimen, strategic analysis of opponents, business ventures. The contrast between his deliberately cultivated public persona and his private strategic thinking was striking. The estate contained extensive correspondence with other athletes seeking Foreman's advice on career longevity and business ventures. Letters from figures ranging from Michael Jordan to Mike Tyson showed that Foreman had become a trusted advisor to many sports icons, particularly regarding post-career planning. A particularly moving exchange with a young Tiger Woods in the late 1990s revealed Foreman warning about the pitfalls of fame and the importance of preparing for life's second and third acts. Detailed files showed Foreman had developed a formal mentoring program for retired athletes struggling with the transition to post-sports life. Financial records indicated he had personally funded this initiative, which provided business training, mental health support, and in some cases, seed money for new ventures. Notes from participants described the program as life-saving during their difficult transitions. Financial records showed that while the Foreman Grill made him wealthy, his savvy real estate investments may have been equally important to building his fortune. Documents detailed property acquisitions spanning 3 decades, revealing that Foreman had quietly assembled substantial holdings in developing areas long before they became valuable. His investment philosophy, outlined in personal notes, emphasized long-term ownership in tangible assets, a conservative approach that protected him from the financial reversals that affected many other athletes. A handwritten investment guide he'd prepared for his children outlined principles that had guided his financial decisions. Buy what people will always need, not what they temporarily want, and the best investments are boring. If everyone's excited about it, you're already too late. This disciplined approach explained how Foreman had preserved and grown his wealth when many other athletes had lost fortunes through speculative ventures. Also discovered were detailed plans for future business ventures that Foreman was developing before his passing. These included concepts for health food restaurants, specialist gym equipment for older adults, and a comprehensive wellness program based on his own fitness journey. These documents showed a man continuously looking forward, developing new ideas well into his 70s. Most surprising among these business plans was a detailed proposal for sustainable housing developments in historically underserved communities. Architectural drawings and financial projections revealed Foreman's vision for creating affordable housing that incorporated green spaces, community centers, and economic opportunities for residents. Notes indicated he intended this to be his legacy project, designed to transform neighborhoods like the one where he grew up. Perhaps most revealing were Foreman's reflections on his family life, particularly his unusual decision to name all 5 of his sons George Edward Foreman. While he had publicly joked about this choice, private writings revealed a deeper purpose. "When your name has value, you pass that value to your children," he wrote. "But more important, they must find their own identity within that name. Just as I had to find mine again after boxing." This philosophical approach to family legacy added new dimension to what many had considered merely an eccentric choice. Personal correspondence with each of his sons showed how Foreman had guided them to develop distinct identities within their shared name. Letters addressed their individual strengths and challenges, with Foreman encouraging each to find his own path while maintaining family bonds. Far from the confusion outsiders imagined, these documents revealed a thoughtful approach to raising sons who would support each other while developing independent identities. The contents of George Foreman's estate ultimately revealed a man even more remarkable than his public achievements suggested. A strategic thinker who carefully crafted his public image, a businessman whose vision extended beyond obvious opportunities, and a philosopher whose personal transformation was more complex and intentional than anyone realized. For fans and historians alike, these discoveries have prompted a re-evaluation of a man who reinvented himself multiple times, suggesting that George Foreman's greatest talent may have been his ability to control his own destiny while making the world believe it all happened naturally.
Her smile took up her entire face, like mine. Kobe always said she was me.
For a long time, Vanessa Bryant has stayed quiet. She is the wife of Kobe Bryant, a basketball star loved by millions. In January 2020, Vanessa's world changed forever. Kobe and their daughter Gianna died in a terrible helicopter crash, and the news broke hearts all around the world. Since that day, Vanessa has been strong, raising her daughters and keeping their family's pain private. People have wondered what she feels, what she thinks, and how she carries on without Kobe and Gianna by her side. Now, at 42 years old, Vanessa is finally ready to share her thoughts. Her words show the deep love she still has for Kobe and Gianna, the sadness she carries every day, and the strength she finds to keep going. It's not just a story of loss, but a story of courage and love that never fades. Vanessa's silence and why it matters. When Kobe Bryant and his daughter Gianna passed away in that tragic helicopter crash on January 26, 2020, the world was left in shock. Fans around the globe grieved the loss of a sports legend and a promising young athlete. But no one felt that loss more deeply than Vanessa Bryant, Kobe's wife and Gianna's mother. While fans poured their sorrow out online and in public memorials, Vanessa stayed mostly silent. She chose to grieve privately, away from the relentless spotlight. In today's world, where everyone shares their thoughts and feelings on social media, Vanessa's choice to stay silent was significant. Celebrities often release statements quickly to stay in control of the narrative, but Vanessa did not rush to speak. Her decision was not about distancing herself from the tragedy, but about protecting her family's privacy. Her silence wasn't a sign of weakness. It was a shield, a way to protect her daughters from further pain. Respect for her privacy. Vanessa's silence earned her a deep respect from people worldwide. Many saw her choice as a way to keep her family's dignity intact. She wasn't looking for sympathy or attention. Instead, she chose to focus on what mattered most: her family. By not sharing every detail of her pain, she showed incredible strength. She showed that grief doesn't always need an audience, that mourning can be a deeply personal journey. There were countless moments when fans and the media wanted her to speak out, to give insight into her loss. But Vanessa held her ground. She didn't let her pain become public property. She didn't want her heartbreak to become a trending topic or a spectacle for people to consume. She knew the power of words, but she also knew the value of silence. With her silence came speculation. People began to create their own narratives about Vanessa's grief. They wondered what she was thinking, how she was coping, and if she would ever openly address the loss. Some believed she was too silent, questioning if it was unhealthy to keep so much bottled up. Others thought she might never speak publicly about Kobe and Gianna again. However, Vanessa's decision to stay quiet wasn't a refusal to acknowledge her pain. It was a way to survive it. She was facing unimaginable heartbreak while still needing to be strong for her 3 surviving daughters, Natalia, Bianca, and Capri. While people wondered what she felt, Vanessa was living each day in the shadow of a loss that most could never understand. Silence as a coping mechanism. Grieving is different for everyone. Some find comfort in talking about their loss, while others need time and space to process their emotions. For Vanessa, silence was a necessary part of coping. It allowed her to maintain control over what little was left of her world. Her silence was a way to preserve her family's dignity and protect them from the prying eyes of the media. By not speaking out immediately, Vanessa avoided the trap of having her grief dissected by people who could never truly understand her pain. Her silence wasn't emptiness. it was strength. It was a choice to heal privately, to keep a part of Kobe and Gianna's memory safe from the chaos of the public world. After years of keeping much of her grief private, Vanessa has begun to speak out. Her words have come through carefully chosen interviews, heartfelt social media posts, and significant public appearances. These moments have given fans and the world a glimpse into the depth of her pain, her healing, and her strength. Vanessa chose to speak not for attention, but to honor Kobe and Gianna's legacy. Her voice has been powerful and impactful, revealing her growth through her grief. By sharing her thoughts, she has helped fans heal while honoring her family's memory. Her ongoing grief and healing process. When Vanessa finally spoke about her loss, it was clear that the pain hadn't disappeared. Grief doesn't have an end date. It stays with a person, transforming as time goes on. Vanessa shared the reality of living with that pain, the ache of missing Kobe and Gianna every single day. She acknowledged that her journey of healing is ongoing, that some days are better than others, but the loss never truly goes away. Her honesty has helped others understand that there is no right way to grieve. By opening up, she showed that even though she has unimaginable strength, she is still a mother who lost her child, and a wife who lost her soulmate. Her vulnerability made her relatable, a reminder that grief is universal, regardless of fame or status. When Vanessa speaks of Kobe, it's with a mix of love, admiration, and heartbreak. She has shared how much Kobe meant to their family, not just as a basketball legend, but as a dedicated husband and father. She has spoken about the values he taught their daughters: hard work, dedication, kindness, and the courage to follow their dreams. Kobe's legacy is not just his achievements on the court, it is the impact he had on his family. Vanessa has expressed her gratitude for the years they had together, but she has also made it clear that the loss is profound. Kobe wasn't just a public figure, he was her best friend and the father of her children. Since the tragedy, Vanessa has taken on the role of both mother and father to her daughters. She has shared how she strives to keep Kobe and Gianna's memory alive in their home, ensuring that their presence is felt. She has become a guiding force for her daughters, teaching them to carry forward the lessons their father instilled in them. Vanessa's strength as a mother is evident in the way she supports her daughters' dreams, celebrates their achievements, and comforts them in their grief. She has managed to stay strong for them while navigating her own sorrow, a balance that requires immense courage. Throughout this journey, Vanessa has had to confront the media's portrayal of her husband. She has defended Kobe's legacy fiercely, correcting misrepresentations and false narratives. Her fight to protect his reputation and honor his memory is a testament to her loyalty and love. Vanessa's decision to address the media's portrayal of Kobe is not just about defending him, it's about preserving the truth for her daughters. She wants them to grow up knowing who their father truly was, beyond the headlines and controversies. One of the most challenging moments for Vanessa was learning about the unauthorized photos taken at the crash site. The thought of such a private, tragic moment being treated as gossip was unbearable. It was a violation of her family's dignity, a cruel act that added to an already overwhelming loss. Vanessa took legal action against those responsible for distributing the photos. Her fight wasn't just for herself. It was for Kobe, Gianna, and all the victims who deserved respect. Her legal battle became a stand for privacy and human decency. She refused to let their memory be tainted by thoughtless actions. Her stance on justice and privacy. Vanessa's battle for justice wasn't about revenge. It was about protecting her family's dignity. She wanted to ensure that no other family would have to experience such a violation during their darkest moments. Her courage in standing up to powerful institutions while dealing with her grief was an act of strength that inspired many. This fight took an emotional toll on Vanessa. Yet despite the pain, she remained committed to seeking justice. Her determination showed that love for her family is more powerful than fear. Vanessa as a role model and advocate. After Kobe and Gianna's passing, Vanessa took on the responsibility of continuing their legacy through the Mamba and Mambachita Sports Foundation. The foundation supports underserved athletes, empowering them to pursue their dreams, just like Kobe and Gianna did. It's a way for Vanessa to channel her pain into purpose, to create something positive out of tragedy. Through this foundation, Vanessa is not just honoring Kobe and Gianna. She is creating opportunities for future generations. Her strength in turning her loss into a mission of hope has inspired countless people.